Oh, is that it?
Embrace the glory that is your birthright.
Hey Nuku-Knights, this is day 5 of the Jin Air OSL Round of 16. Yeah, it's my intro. Pretty sweet, eh? But this is C versus Fantasy, which is like C, but with a little extra stuff before it. 2-player map, TVT, New Bloody Ridge. And this is day 5, so yeah, we're getting up there, man. Closer and closer to the round of 8. This match right here might send a certain player into the round of 8. That's right. High stakes. Alright. That's all I got. I just had dinner, so I'm like... trying desperately to stay awake. I just had dinner and now I'm groggy, just like Master Miller warned me would happen. Why didn't I listen? Snake! Okay. Looks like we're getting ready to start. As I said, this is a 2-player map, so 2-player map TVTs are often very wonky. So I'm looking forward to it. But here we go. Let me get those colors. Looks like Fantasy's yellow, but they might change it. Except, whoa, that was kind of delayed. But up at the 2 o'clock position in yellow is C. Yes, they did change it. So C is yellow. Fantasy is in red. A C of Fanta. It's okay. Fantasy down at the 8 o'clock. C up at the 2 o'clock. Once again, it would have been great if C was red, so I could remember red C. Yellow C. Wait a minute. There's a yellow C. All right. That's what I'm going to remember. Probably still going to mix them up, but whatever. Whatever. Okay. Let's get some prediction from the Nuku-Knights. Whole lot of Fantasy fans out there, so let me just spew some Fantasy fanboyism. Here's one from Lemmy TBH. Writes, Fantasy and Haya. Hilarious, wacky funster Terrans go. I cannot imagine seeing C move on. Harsh. Here's another one from Ace of Spaceman. Writes, Fantasy to take it all. Simple, elegant. Here's another one from Dougie404. Writes, Nuke, I've been such a long fan! 3 exclamation points. I have all my money on Fantasy, all caps. 4 exclamation points. Not that I am going against Stork or anything, but I prefer Terran myself. I would like to see Flash versus Fantasy for the finals. That would be cool. Not sure if it's possible, but it would be cool. Anyway, seems that Fantasy is moving out with an SCV, probably to put his barracks a little bit closer so he can float it over and get a nice good scout. Yeah, he's going to put that barracks right in the middle and eventually float it over to C's base. Another prediction from Alder Schwadron. Alder Schwadron writes, Fantasy will do it because he is Fantasy and he knows the maps in the matchup best. Fantasy, yeah, Fantasy's been rocking it so far. 2 freaking wins, 0 losses after coming off of his championship season. So yeah, he's already showing very strong play in this OSL. It's a good sign. Good sign for the reigning champ. Alright, let me give you those stakes. The high stakes. The who's screwed, who's not so screwed score sheet. Piece of paper. Flap it around. Okay. So, factory coming up, by the way, for C. And Fantasy is actually going to pump a Marine just in case C might be going for a 14 command center. CCC. Yes. C is 14 CC. But he is not. He's going to come out with his own Marine, and Fantasy's probably going to fall back to his main with that Marine and float over at the barracks. Yes, he is. He's going to use that for a very early scout. And see, it seems he's not even going to do that. He's going to float and land his barracks to try to keep out any additional scouting. Obviously, Fantasy has already snuck in with this SCV. The SCV's not going to last too long. It can't even get out because of the barracks. Fantasy's trying to get me out of here. But he will be able to stay in long enough to see if the machine shop comes down in that factory or anything. Maybe he saw the factory coming up, but he's not going to be able to see the machine shop or not. Looking around for a starport, doesn't see it. So he puts down his command center. Now to tell you the stakes is the command center coming down for C as well. He's going to float over instead of building it at the natural. If Fantasy wins this matchup, if Fantasy wins against C, he will 3-0 the group, which is automatically you're into the round of 8 if you 3-0 an entire group. So Fantasy would move out. He would be guaranteed to be a round of 8 contender. And that would knock C down to 1 win, 2 loss, giving Sue 1 win, 1 loss, and Haya 0 wins and 2 losses. So C would have to hope and pray that Haya beats Sue to force a lower rung tiebreaker for that second spot. So that is what he's going to hope for if Fantasy wins. Now, if C wins, we're almost guaranteed to have Fantasy and C both moving out. Now, Haya would be knocked out. If C wins, Haya is gone. So Haya is back there rooting for Fantasy. But there could still be... Sue could still force an upper rung tiebreaker for both spots by beating Haya in the 6th day. So even if C wins, it's not necessarily game over. Same thing with Fantasy. We're not going to have a useless day 6 for Group A at least. So okay, those are your stakes, those are your predictions, and now we have a Wraith coming out for Fantasy. He's going to try to get a little bit of harassment with that. And of course his Vultures, the deadly Fantasy Vultures, being stopped dead in their tracks by a tank on the high ground. Very smart of C, anticipating those Vultures. Of course, it's Fantasy. Of course he's going to build Vultures. Of course he is. And most likely going to get that Vulture speed up soon, because Fantasy with Vultures, with speed, oh my god, freaking terrorist. He is just a jihadist, terrorist. Oh god. On the top 10 FBI list. Alright, here comes the Wraith trying to snipe that Marine, since that Marine is basically the only anti-air that C has at the moment. He might have pumped another Marine, not exactly sure about that, but only saw the one. So Fantasy snipes that, and now he's going to probably try to sneak in. Well, actually, no, he's hovering inside the middle of the map, I think. I didn't see his Wraith working its way up to the 2 o'clock. By the way, excellent video quality yet again from Maktira. Forgot to thank him last time, but good old Maktira. Yeah, I did have a discussion with him on how I enjoyed these straight from OGN videos, so he's been trying to get those for me successfully the last 2 times. So thank you, Maktira. You rule. So, okay, 1 Wraith out picking at the tanks. That's not going to cause too much damage for C, since C is moving in right now. He sees that he has more tanks. He has, I think, 1 more tank, actually. So Fantasy's pulling some SCVs off the line just to block for those tanks, so he can get up close and personal here. There's a couple of Vultures sneaking in as well. Mines coming in, so Fantasy's got to be careful. Got to be careful of the mines. Both players down to 1 tank each, and Fantasy surrounds C's tank with SCVs, and I'm not sure if he was able to snipe it or not, though. It's hard to tell. I think the tank tried to run away. But Fantasy, it seems, has pumped a couple of the Wraiths now. So, oh, Fantasy! Playing it a little bit risky. Of course, there's that mine in red health. Red health mine's a little ridiculous, so we'll be able to snipe that in 1 shot at least, should he try to move out. And hopefully he A moves out. If he doesn't A move out, he's probably going to lose a couple of tanks to that mine. Alright, let's check out what Fantasy is doing. He's still using those Wraiths to great effect, scanning out there, getting rid of the mines to the best of his ability. Oh, Fantasy takes a mine into that tank, but he does not lose the tank. But very smartly of Fantasy, he is putting that injured tank kind of a little bit further out of range of C's tanks. C's siege tanks. See how many tongue twisters I can fit into this game. But okay, Fantasy is repairing that tank now to hold his defensive line, because C is being the aggressive one. He lost his vision. C just lost his vision, which was his barracks floating out there. So Fantasy's going to use this as an advantage, working his way out. Of course, he has the Wraiths to get his own vision. Maybe not for long. C coming in trying to snipe the Wraiths. If the Wraiths go down for Fantasy, he's not going to have nearly the same amount of vision that he has right now. He's going to float over with another building, but it looks like C is backing off, going to try to take another high ground area closer to the middle, I'd say, and take his 3rd base at the exact same time over at the 3 o'clock position. There is a scan, most likely from C, to spot where Fantasy is moving all of his troops at the moment. Another barracks coming up from C, obviously. He needs to put down some factories soon. He has a good amount of factories, but he wants to work his way up anyway. He's going to be able to use that as a scout as well, like he did earlier, before it went down to Wraiths. Okay, Fantasy is probably going to have map control for a little while here. Both players got up their second bases at about the same time. C, of course, floated his over a little bit. But here comes the tanks from C, taking the high ground area. Fantasy spots this with that scout, so he's probably going to move up a little bit closer, a little further west to try to take that, or at least go for a counterattack over here. But he has some vultures in now. The vultures are probably going to wreak all kinds of havoc on that 3 o'clock base. C is going to have to be mindful of that. Put down some defenses. He has to know. He has to have studied Fantasy's play by now and knows how fond he is of vulture drops and vulture run-bys, stuff like that. So C running into some mines of his own, but he takes down every single one of them on that little high ground ridge down near the 6 o'clock position. So he's going to move inch a little bit closer to Fantasy. Of course, if he runs into that big mine trap, that could prove doom for him. But there are actually some troops right in the middle of the map. Not sure what's going on in the middle, if C is going to try to establish a fourth base or not. But if this TVT goes too long, we are going to see the players fighting for the middle minerals, which would be hilariously awesome. So I hope this game goes a little bit longer than that. But okay, the 9 o'clock position trying to come up for Fantasy. It looks like he's going to lose that STV at the 9 o'clock. He's trying to push forward with his own vultures. But he just isn't quite in the right position he wants to be in yet. He needs to get those tanks a little bit closer so he can push forward with all the vultures, surround the C's tanks with vultures, and then use his tanks in the back to kill everything else. After the mines go off on the tanks, of course. Okay, Fantasy is the one pressuring C's front. But C is going to get a little bit of harassment down here too, I think. C hasn't been going for a lot of vulture run-bys or anything like that. He's sniped an SCV over the 9 o'clock position, but other than that, not too much else going on for C. He's mostly been devoting himself to Goliath, obviously trying to snipe the race that we're out. There's a vulture drop from Fantasy, dropping a couple of vultures. Might drop another one over here at the 3 o'clock position, sorry. But yeah, as I said, very fond of vulture drops. 2 vultures being thrown over to this 9 o'clock position, and C was not quite prepared for it up here. He has 1 vulture of his own, but he's going to probably need a tank or so. Fantasy picking up his vultures again. He's trying to go for the main now, I think. Just kind of hovering there, making C guess where he's going to go next. But luckily, C has finally pumped a Wraith, so he'll be able to keep away this harassment, keep away this dropship, and maybe be able to take down this dropship. Yeah, it looks like he is going to be able to snipe the dropship. Whoa, the Wraith was not quite paying attention, so hopefully he can snipe that dropship, because that would be something he needs to do at the moment, because Fantasy is just going to keep dropping there. Oh, nice cleanup by Fantasy. Very clean cleanup, by the way, clearing the troops at the 6 o'clock position. But C still pressuring. He's still trying to push in. But Fantasy just has more tanks, so I think he's going to be able to do it, even with that high ground advantage that C has firing from the ridge. Fantasy just has more tanks. And plus, he has cloaked wraiths. Now, he researched cloak. C scanning, trying to find the cloaked wraiths. But if Fantasy backs off here, Fantasy is sniping the Goliath. He takes down the Goliath so he can snipe this tank. A very important tank snipe, so he can inch forward a little bit closer with his own troops. Oh, sniping of the Wraith as well, so Fantasy taking a lot of engagements and doing some very aggressive harassment in this game. So Fantasy just trying to take control of this game. I have a feeling that we're going to see a lot of the same thing from C soon, but right now C is on the back foot. He's playing defensively. The more he tries to push forward here, the more tanks he's losing. So yeah, he's just losing a few engagements in the middle of the map. As Fantasy is going to try to take his 6 o'clock position, I think. C is floating down here, which is probably a barracks. Yeah, floating in with the barracks to get that vision. So he's going to inch forward, get the vision, take out a couple of tanks. So that was actually a very nice snipe. Now, some more tanks coming in from Fantasy's decided to do a counterattack, making C choose whether or not he wants to pull back with his troops or attack Fantasy down inside of his natural expansion. But Fantasy has wedged himself in a very nice little area here. If he scans, he can take out that refinery pretty easily at C's natural, which he's doing. Scans. Oh, one more shot going to take down that refinery. Might have to waste another scan for that, actually. Well, it'll probably burn down in due time. But here comes C. He's pushing forward. Both players are pushing each other with tanks at the moment. Here comes a Wraith out. Not a Wraith, but a Valkyrie out now for C. He already has a Wraith, but he is coming out with a Valkyrie, thinking to himself that Fantasy is most likely going to stick to Wraiths and try to get an air advantage. Very standard TVT these days anyway, so it's good to plan ahead with a single Valkyrie. Now, of course, the longer the game goes on, the less useful Valkyries are because they glitch. For those of you who don't know, Valkyries do have a sprite glitch. Valkyries use so many sprites and their attack animation that if you get enough sprites, I don't know the exact number, but if you get enough sprites on the map, they just don't fire at all because they can't. The game is like, you're using too many sprites, you're not allowed to fire anymore. But still, getting Valkyries early on is very, very good in a TVT. You'll be able to take out those Wraiths pretty easily, fend back the drop ships and whatnot. But both players are going air now off of 2 starports. Both have 2 ports rolling. Fantasy has a couple of Valkyries of his own. Of course he does. He's Fantasy. Vultures and Valkyries are standard for Fantasy in every single matchup. Of course, even versus Protoss. Yeah, he uses those Valkyries so effectively versus Protoss, it's ridiculous. Yeah, find a game like that and I'll give you $10. No, I don't have that much. Okay, so the science facility is sniped by Fantasy. Fantasy does have the air advantage. See, he's going to have to do something about this. He's going to have to pull in with his own smaller air army and hope that Cloaked Wraiths will get it done for him, because C was researching Cloak for himself, for his own Wraiths. Now, both players have about half of the map each. This is a very strange map for this kind of Terran play, obviously, because little high ground areas everywhere. The base is so close together. Just look at that, how close that base is at the 12 o'clock. C, I think, is trying to float over there with a base at the 12 o'clock position. There comes Fantasy trying to distract. C gets in there first with his vultures. I'm trying to make... Oh, he takes down all of the tanks. That was a very nice attack from Fantasy. The backup tank's coming in, but it's going to be a little bit too late. Fantasy, most of his tanks are in red at the front, it seems, but he did not lose them. Oh, the tanks... If C just goes in and attacks with his vultures, he should be able to take them out, but no... The Wraiths and the Valkyries coming in at just the right time, so Fantasy will be able to hold and probably push into that 6 o'clock soon. He's getting closer and closer to the 6, and I'm not sure if C is going to be able to defend this or not. C is rally pointing everything to this position. I see all of his troops moving down to the 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock, very important now, so he's got to defend it. So C takes down one of the tanks by having his own tank on the high ground. But he's not repairing his tanks up here, surprisingly enough. He doesn't have an SCV on the tanks repairing them or anything like that. But he's still going to be able to take out that tank. And Fantasy is going to have to bring in his air army, which shouldn't be a problem for him. His air army is so large. He should be able to utilize that down at the 6 o'clock position to take down C's base. Now, I'm not sure what C is going to be able to do about the 12 o'clock. Both players seem very reluctant to attack at the moment because they know those Cloaked Wraiths are out there just hiding, lying in wait. But they both need to realize that the Valkyries are with the Cloaked Wraiths, so you're going to know where those Cloaked Wraiths are, no matter what. If you see the Valkyries, you know. And look at that poor engineering bay. Oh, it's a very bad day to be an engineer. Yeah, there are actual engineers in that bay. I feel very sorry for them. Poor guys. We'll have a memorial later after this game, but some tanks being... Oh, look at that Wraith. Micro missed a few shots there, but Fantasy finally got close enough. He's playing carefully, trying to keep away from the turrets, but missed a couple of shots there. Took a little bit more shots than he wanted to. But okay, we have about 5 Valkyries for Fantasy, and he's trying to push up to the 6 o'clock position, get within range of these tanks. Closer and closer. He has the wraiths for vision, has the wraiths for vision of this high ground area, but C keeps planting tanks on the high ground. Eventually, C, nice attack from him. I'm surprised he didn't commit to that. He caught the wraiths outside of the Valkyrie splash, Fantasy's Valkyrie splash, so he probably could have taken down a lot of them before the Valkyries caught on. But C falls back anyway, and now seems that Fantasy is moving out into the middle. He's still taking down that refinery. C hasn't been able to do anything about the tanks to the left of his natural expansion, which is going to hurt him a lot in the long run. There's Fantasy doing some long distance mining in the middle, trying to keep that command center out of harm's way. C coming up, sieging all of his troops, getting as close as he can with the vultures, but he didn't lay mines really next to any of the tanks, so he's going to lose probably more than he wanted to in that attack, and not be able to accomplish quite as much as he needed to. He was trying to clear out those troops to the left of his base, but it's going to take even longer to do that now, unless he can come up and lay a couple of mines next to those tanks. But C has to do something about the 12 o'clock soon. Oh man, Fantasy getting closer to the 6 o'clock, and C has nothing down here, so he's bringing in his air army now. His entire air army is moving down. A couple of Valkyries getting caught on the engineering bay, Fantasy's engineering bay. So C is moving out with some SCVs to take out these troops because he needs that gas. He needs the gas at his natural expansion, and he just hasn't been able to hold that for a very long time. So Fantasy's going for the command center down at the 6 o'clock position. He's going to try to take that down. So I'm surprised that the air army hasn't come into play for C yet, but he might not be able to afford it. He's been running low on gas, basically lower on gas than Fantasy anyway. Because his refinery has been down in his natural expansion for so long. The SCVs being slaughtered as they transfer out of the 6 o'clock position. So C, it seems, is just going to cut his losses and sack this base because he hasn't moved in with his air army to do anything about it yet. Possibly afraid that Fantasy just has more in the air and he would get trapped, which he might get trapped anyway. Fantasy is moving even closer with his Valkyrie and Wraith squad to C. And yes, C has to do something soon. He just lost a base. He's going to get further and further behind. His disadvantage is just going to snowball at this point if he can't take down something very important to Fantasy. So he's going to try to get some tank snipes here. Do this by getting the tank snipes. Holding off on cloaking just yet. Trying to lure Fantasy's troops into him so he can cloak and take down everything. But clearing out most of the troops next to the 6 o'clock position, but Fantasy is still in here being a terror. Little terrorist. He does have his entire air army in, so these tanks not going to be able to do much without the air support from C. Fantasy resupplying the tanks down at the 6 o'clock position, getting even closer. Closer and closer. He is firing from the low ground, but he has the vision, so he should be able to take out this 6 o'clock base now. C was forced to lift off earlier. He floated back down to land his command center, but he has no SCVs there, and he has no way of getting them there because of the tanks. He's just trying to pump the SCVs from the command center down. It finally retook his refinery at the natural expansion. And it looks like he's taken down one of Fantasy's refineries up at the 12 o'clock. Big air battle. Huge air battle. Neither player committing to cloak just yet. Oh, the Valkyries chasing off everything. I just think that Fantasy has a stronger air presence at the moment. See, he got a couple of snipes, but he backed off for the most part from that attack. So, yeah, Fantasy, he mostly took this middle base to get the gas off of it. He has some SCVs, probably about 4 SCVs mining from that refinery right in the middle, but he has not taken the very center of that because he knows it's a little bit too vulnerable, a little bit harder to protect that with what he has. The air army coming in now. Fantasy just trying to play bullfighter here. He's even wearing red, trying to play bullfighter, get C to come even closer so he can take down his air army. Because really, that's all that's keeping C in the game now. C, his 6 o'clock basically is gone because he'd lost so many SCVs. As they transferred out, he lost most of them as they transferred out of that base. So Fantasy's economy is just stronger. Fantasy pumping some Goliaths now to try to pick off C's air army. It's going to help that out a lot. So C coming back in, try to retake his 6 o'clock position. These tanks are very in danger now. The air army finally coming in for C, but it might be a little bit too late. He lost a couple of tanks in that big air battle, both players cloaking and scanning, trying to snipe each other. It looks like the Valkyries in the back. Still a couple of Valkyries left for C. They are attacking, taking down most of the troops here. Both players are going to have to keep scanning, I think, because the Wraiths are still in play. No, Fantasy keeps all of his Wraiths, and he's cleaning up the 6 o'clock position again. So those Valkyries were just sniped by what Fantasy had out. Fantasy had a lot more Wraiths up in the air. So yeah, that's what allowed him to do the big snipe there. There's 4 starports going now for C. It looks like he might be building another one. Not exactly sure what that building was inside of his main, but the command center at the 6 o'clock going down. That's not good at all. So see, not only was he dwindling from gas from his natural expansion, but now he's lost his 6 o'clock. No gas down there either. So Fantasy just has a much stronger economy. C tried to float over to the 12 o'clock, got a very rude awakening when he saw Fantasy already there comfortably mining. So he's moving up to the 12 o'clock position. Looks like C has focused most of his attention and energy, his attenergy, if you will, up at the 12 o'clock to inch forward and take out Fantasy's base up at the 12 o'clock. Yeah, but Fantasy still has a very, very powerful air army, building turrets everywhere just to make sure he solidifies his air advantage and keep those Wraiths, pesky Wraiths, away. And here come the tanks trying to sneak in. The SCV support. SCVs, they're acting as meat shields, take the hits from the tanks so we can get close enough. But it looks like this attack was not quite what he wanted to do. He wanted to get a little bit closer than that. But C is working his way in with his own command center to the middle. That might be the command center he was trying to float it to the 12 o'clock earlier, but no, another big attack. And I just think if Fantasy has more, hopefully if he keeps scanning here, yeah, he does scan, gets rid of everything. Kind of a big sigh there from C, like, are you freaking kidding me? So C is going to lose most of everything he has in the middle of the map, and I think the Fantasy is just going to snowball this and eventually get to the natural expansion. Yeah, he's already made it to the natural. Yeah, so just a few Wraiths left for C, and now he's backing off. There's the GG from C, so Fantasy 3-0s the group like a baller. So he is moving into the round of 8 pretty easily, and he is our first guy in the round of 8. Golf claps all around. Okay, C's going to shoot for that lower rung tiebreaker and hope that Haya pulls through. Let's move on to Group B.